What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a special Junior's World of Soul. I am doing a special video today. Normally I'd have been on the chill, but I felt like this video had to get done. I wanted to make this video like maybe 2 days ago, but I was a little and we'll get into that. But as you can see, I came in with the underrated intro. Now, you know, this song definitely brings back memories for me because I actually remember hearing this song at the beginning of an episode on New York Undercover. Now y'all know, y'all remember when New York Undercover used to be out, like the first scene, and when it used to come on, it used to give you like the hottest song in R&B or hip hop. And you know, it was past my bedtime. I had to go to bed because, you know, and on Thursday night it used to be Martin, Living Single, and New York Undercover. But, you know, I had a 9 o'clock curfew, so at 8:30 I got to watch Martin and Living Single, but I could never watch New York Undercover. But it was always good because I could always hear what the first song was being played. So I remember this song, and I remember like, yo, so I kept that beat in my head. So when I got to school, everybody was like, yo, you heard that new intro record? And I was like, ooh, that's who that was. Intro, mind you, this is 9 years old. Like, I was such a music geek then. It's like crazy. And that's why I was able to start doing videos like this. But it's just a little memory of that. So, you know, I love intro. Like, I did love intro, but I wasn't a huge, big fan of them. Like, I knew they songs. Like, I knew, like, the hits. But it was like, I didn't get into them until I got older. So if you would have asked me maybe 15 years ago, like, who was your favorite groups and things like that, I would have told you the normal, the Boys, the Men, the Jodeci, you know, who else? It was a lot of groups back then. But, you know, it's just, I just remember that song, and then when I got older, I started looking at the back of CD covers to see who wrote a lot of these songs and all that. So, you know, like I said, I wasn't the biggest intro fan, but I did like their music. You know what I'm saying? They had that hip-hop soul kind of thing going, because Kenny could sing his face off. That's for one thing. But, you know, I had a connection with intro before I even knew who they were. Because, you know, Kenny wrote for my favorite artist of all time, and he wrote on her first album, What's the 411? And, I couldn't believe it, so when I went back and looked, and it would say Kenny Greene and Dave Hall, I'm like, who the heck is Kenny Greene? Kenny Greene is the lead singer of Intro. Oh, okay. So these are the songs that he actually wrote for Mary's album, which you will not believe. And this is the first one. It goes like this. So he wrote that, then he wrote this. I was like, wow. And it goes like this. Loving you. Then he wrote this. It was like, yo, I could not believe how many songs this guy really wrote for Mary's first album. And the last one actually wasn't on the album, but she recorded it for the album, and then they brought it out for the Who's the Man soundtrack, and y'all know what that is, and it goes like this. You don't have to worry. So I love those songs. I love them, and you know, basically 2 of them were like big hits off What's the 411. And actually, Love No Limit is actually my favorite song off of the What's the 411 album. So, you know, as much as I love Mary, everybody knows I love Mary. I'm such a big Mary fan. She's my favorite artist. And even after this video, she's going to continue to be my favorite artist. But Mary is my favorite artist. And, you know, I talk about my brother Sincere. He's also a rapper. And I talked about his album, Return to Sender. And I love it. But, you know, me and him vibe on the music tip. And I got to love it for that guy, man. That's my dude right there. But he was like, yo, you should check out Intro, like they a dope band, and I'm like, a dope group. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, I rock with Intro, like I listened to the album fully through, but it was just like, okay, whatever. He kept stressing this, and I'm like, why is he stressing me to listen to this album? It was just weird to me. And he was like, yo, like, you gotta understand, Kenny Greene is the reason why hip hop soul began. So, you know, on the break of being a Mary fan, I came to defense. I said, hold up, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, Mary and Puff got together, and they created this genre for everybody. Now, mind you, being a Mary fan, I was becoming a fan rather than not being a music fan. I was being a Mary fan. Mary stan, I should say. And I'm like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Mary was the first one to bring it to the table. You don't know what you mean. Mind you, in my mind, I'm lying like crazy because there's been people before her. But I'm like, Mary brought it mainstream. You don't know what you're talking about. He like, yo, I'm trying to tell you, you need to kind of do, and he know me. I'm going to do my research before I really go in and say, yo, you don't know what you're talking about. So, of course, me being a music historian and music soul lover, I'm going to find what the heck is he talking about. So, you know, after he told me Intro was that, I was like, okay, let me get out of being a Mary stan for a second. And he was like, yo, I'm serious. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's like hip-hop soul really, you can kind of say started in the 80s, and I'll tell you why. Because Force MDs, which, you know, we know them for Tender Love and A House Is Not, what is it? Dang, I forgot the song right off the top of the head. But we know them for their slow jazz, but they were actually one of the first ones to actually, you know, start singing on hardcore hip-hop beats. And I'm going to give you a song. And it goes like this. Itching for a scratch. So they were singing on that, like they were really singing, and you know, back in the 80s when hip-hop started to become really, really popular and, you know, started getting noticed, I should say, dudes was getting on beats like this, and they were singing, and they were rapping on it. And Force MDs was actually the ones that was actually singing on these type of songs. So, but it wasn't really the popular thing to do, so really Force MDs really don't get the respect they deserve, but they definitely should get the respect of really kind of being the ones, because I think they were on, no they wasn't, I'm not going to say Crush Groove because I'm not going to say the right one, but they was definitely in one of, it was, is it The Beats or something like that. I forgot what the movie is called off the top of the head. Beat Street, if I'm not mistaken. They were on that, and they did this song, and it's like, yo, a hip-hopper can get on this and all that, and they kind of started it. So, but they didn't really get the recognition. So, you know, they really were the first ones. And then in the 90s, actually, in like 89, Michelle A was actually one of the ones to start with a hip-hop beat as well, because she got with Dre, you know, Dre and NWA and all that. She actually, if you think about her songs, like this one. They say I'm nasty. So see, she was another one that doesn't get the respect that she deserves. So everybody, when you think of hip-hop soul, everybody kind of goes to Mary. And that's just what mainstream has done, and that's what mainstream made it seem like, and that's just what it is. I mean, I thought about it until me going back and doing my research, and I'm like, wait a minute, it couldn't have been. Mary wasn't kind of the first one. But Michelle A, it really wasn't pushed again. It was just like, we know Michelle A more for Something in My Heart than we do Nasty and No More Lies. Like, we know her more for the slow ballad. So it's like she really couldn't push it, but I like when Kelly Price was on R&B Divas, she said, Michelle A, I gotta respect you because before Mary, it was you. And even at the end of the day, I was like, you know, then Mary Stan came out of me again, like, what is this chick talking about? But then the music fan in me was like, yo, she's absolutely right. Because this song came out, and her album came out in 1990. Mary didn't come out until really debuted. Her first single came out in 91. But, you know, it was Michelle A. So, you know, but the mainstream, like I said, going back to the mainstream world makes us think that Puff and Mary kind of created this. And once I did my research, I found out some things. So let's cut this off. I hope you guys are ready to get schooled on some shit that I learned. I was so upset because mainstream screws you as usual, and this is what they do, and they make it seem like one thing is one thing, but it really isn't. And I was so hurt by it because it dealt with my favorite artist. Now, hey, some people can look at this and be a little angry, but I'm a Mary fan, and I'm a diehard Mary fan, but I'm right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's what I try to do with these videos, try to school y'all on a little bit of the history of the, you know, R&B and how that came to pass. But we need to know the truth. And just like mainstream is saying R&B is dead, and it isn't. They're trying to make it seem like it is, but it isn't. I'm already getting hot. Let me pour my drink right quick. Yes. And we going to get this thing moving. Let me take a sip. So, talking about my boy's intro. So, the story really starts, I'm going to say the birth. I'm going to call this the birth of hip-hop soul. The story starts with Benny, Buddy, and Keith, and Kenny, Buddy and Kenny Greene. And they met in the Army in North Carolina in like 88. And then they met Jeff, and then they created the group Intro. So they went to this famous club in New York that you know the stars used to go to because Jeff used to be the party animal. So he used to go to these clubs and he had VIP access and he used to do all this thing and things like that. So finally, I guess they realized that Heavy D and Andre Harrell was in the club that night. So they sung for him. And he was like, yo, y'all dope. So, you know, he was like, I'm going to call you. And, of course, when somebody tells you that, you like, man, get the hell out of here. Y'all ain't calling me, whatever, whatever. So he did ended up getting a call, and, you know, Heavy D said, I need y'all to come up to New York. And mind you, this is 89, 90, around this point. So, so they all come up from North Carolina to New York, and they meet Eddie F., who was part of the Untouchables with Dave Hall and all that. So they walk up there and they, you know, they sing for him and they like, yo, they are crazy. Like, he starts calling everybody, like, this group Intro is dope. Like, they can really sing. So, they got in the studio the next week. Mind you, this is still like around 1989, 90. So they get in the studio and they start making these records. And they start making these records with Eddie F. and Dave Hall. And they busting out. So, you know, Eddie F. and them discuss like, wait a minute, you know what we should do? We should sing over hip-hop beats. Because nobody's doing it. Because Teddy Riley had it on lock with the New Jack Swing. He absolutely did. He had it on lock. Nobody was touching Teddy at this moment. And nobody didn't know how to really bridge R&B and hip-hop and make it kind of mainstream. So Eddie F. and Intro was like, yo, we need to do that. So Intro made Love Thing that I'm going to play in a few. They made that song, and they made it within 2 hours. And mind you, this is around 1989, 90. No, I'm going to say 1990. They make this song, and this is during the time where, you know, the clubs really broke a record. And this is when you used to be able to put the white thing on your vinyl, and it was nothing, and just put the artist, and you give it to the DJs. And Eddie F gave it to the club that Jeff and all them sung for Heavy D, and they was in the club, and people was like, yo, this song is hot. And this is called Love Thing, and y'all gonna see why this song was a big deal. And it goes like this. I know y'all waiting, but give me a second. So, y'all hear that? So now y'all know, if you are big hip-hop heads, this beat was from Brand Nubian Slow Down. And that came out in 1990. So, everybody is in the club like, yo, this joint is hot, this joint is hot. But mind you, right now, they don't have a label, right? So, the clubs is going crazy. It has a buzz right now. So, around, this is, I'm going to say 1991, you know, this is around the time that, you know, in the New York clubs, everybody kind of knew what was going on in New York clubs. So this is the time that Mary had You Remind Me out, and this is 91, I'm sorry, it was 1991. And You Remind Me came out, and she started getting this buzz. It was like, yo, who is this girl singing, you know, this? So she had this on rotation. So mind you, they are making all these songs. They are in the studio. This is before Mary, you know, started really, you know, getting her album together. But they were in the studio, and they was with, you know, Puff was there, and Andre Harrell, and Heavy D, and all them, and Untouchables that consisted of David Hall, and all them. And it was like they was in the studio making these songs. So it was like, okay, so everybody's feeling it. So mind you, like I said, Mary had a deal with Uptown. Intro didn't have a deal. They just had a production deal, and that was it. So they felt like giving Mary those, because when Mary came by, because I'm going too fast, when Mary came by the studio, she heard Reminisce. She heard she heard Reminisce. She heard My Love. She heard You Don't Have to Worry. And she heard Love No Limit. Now, this is the time when they needed to start building an album for Mary, because this is the time where the single is really buzzing. This You Remind Me single is really buzzing. So the label's like, we got to get an album. We got to get an album. So, that goes to say that Intro felt like, okay, screw it. We'll give Mary those songs, because that'll kind of give us a little clout so we can get us a deal. So they are still making other songs around this time. And mind you, Jodeci comes out. So we know Jodeci, Forever My Lady, and Stay, and Come and Talk to Me, the original version. So we know them from that. So Puff was in the studio with them while they were creating, after they heard Love Thing, and they were creating these songs that had like hip-hop beats to them. Puff heard it, ran his mouth, and went to Devontae, and Devontae actually was like, okay, we need to do this. And he remixed I'm Still Waiting, and Puff did Come Talk to Me. And we're going to get to that. And these are the songs, and it goes like this. Yeah, y'all, I'm getting hot, because now we about to get deep into it. Okay? And then we all know this one here. So y'all hear this now. Jodeci wasn't ever thinking about doing that. So basically, they took the idea that Intro was having because nobody was doing it. Puff knew what they were doing, and since he was kind of like the A&R for Jodeci, because he didn't produce any of those songs. He didn't produce any of those songs on there, Forever My Lady. It was all Devontae and I'll Be Sure. It was all that. Puff had nothing to do with the music. He had just create the image. So he created the image for Jodeci. Basically, street. Because if y'all look in the video with, what's his name? What is his name? Oh my God, I can't even think of the guy's name right now. Oh my God, Father MC. They're in that video, in his video, Treat 'Em Like a Lady. They're in that video with all them wearing suits. They were country boys from North Carolina. They had no swag like what they were doing, but Puff felt like you do something different with them. Let's put them on some jeans. Let's put them on some combat boots. Let's put their hats back to the side, and let's create this image. And that's what they did. So Puff knew, okay, we got this rolling. Since Intro don't have a deal, nobody knows about them. Love Thing is only kind of New York clubs. Nobody really know about that. Since Jodeci has this audience now from Forever My Lady and Stay and all that, let's see if this hip-hop soul thing will work. That's what he did. He made the shit, so he gave them Come Talk to Me and do the remix. Now, when you think of Come Talk to Me, nobody thinks about the original version. Everybody thinks about the remix because it has that hip-hop drop to it. So everybody rocks to it rather than the original version. So, you know, that worked in Jodeci's favor because they already had the hip-hop swag to them. They were singing, but they still had on these, you know, they would act like they were from the hood, even though they were from North Carolina, but they were from the hood. So it was just an added bonus because they were talking to the females, but dressed like the dudes from the hood. But now they got beats where the dudes can rock to in their car instead of the girls. So Puff was like, okay, a remix worked with Jodeci. Now that he's the A&R for Mary, he was like, yo, we gonna go full hog with her. She got You Remind Me out, you know what I'm saying? And now we need to create something with her. Because let me tell y'all something right now. Mary was on the shelf with Uptown from 1987 to 1991. They didn't know what to do with her. She was just too hard and too rough. They didn't know what to do with her. So she was singing background for Father MC. She was singing like demos for maybe for Guy and doing all this stuff. So they didn't know what to do with her. So finally, when they took her off and she did You Remind Me for the Strictly Business soundtrack, it created a buzz. So it was like, then when Puff found out, like, oh, that worked with Jodeci, I'm going to create the same image for Mary, but I'm going to really start with doing hip-hop beats and let her sing on it. So what do? They bring out Real Love. Real Love or top billing beat. And everybody is like, whoa, what is this? What is going on? What is this? Nobody really knows what this is. It's different. It's like real hard. You got a girl singing off of the top billing beat. And she's singing very soulful. So it was like, they felt like they were the ones that kind of created that. But come to find out, Puff realized what the heck was going on and sent it to people that already had a deal and already had a push. So that's why Intro don't get the respect that they deserve. They were the ones that created this sound of hip-hop soul. But what Puff did was stole it and gave it to his artist. Now, am I saying he's wrong for what he did? Yes, he's absolutely wrong. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to make your money. I get it, but Intro don't get that respect because they were the ones that were really starting this thing, but they didn't have a deal. And Puff realized they didn't have a deal, so what he did was ran his mouth to Devontae. Devontae remixed I'm Still Waiting, and Puff gave them Come Talk to Me, and it was like this new sound was brewing. So then, since Jodeci already had a fan base, the girls, they singing, and okay, they remixes for the dudes, let's put all this hip-hop soul thing into Mary. Let's just put it into Mary, because Mary has this in rotation. It was like, it made sense. She had this in rotation. So Mary started to get this buzz. So I don't blame Intro for really giving her those songs, because it's like, yo, this will help us get a deal. We don't have to have a production deal just with the Untouchables. We can get us our own deal. So what really bothers me is then, so now that they got that out, right? And now that we know that, you know, we know Jodeci is out, Mary got this, What's the 411 comes out, it blows up, because it created, quote unquote, a new genre. Mind you, this genre was already brewing by Intro, but they didn't have a deal. So it's like Mary and Puff created this lane and brought it mainstream, and that's what everybody says. And Puff knew what he was doing when he threw on the title, the Queen of Hip Hop Soul. He knew it was a marketing tool. He's no fool. But it was dirty and sneaky, but he was no fool. He knew exactly what he was doing. And like he said in the Behind the Music, Mary was just hard, so it worked. It worked. And if you think about Puff and what he did with that, and what he did with that, he brought it to every one of his artists after that. Now, after he got Bad Boy, he created Faith, kind of like in the shadows of kind of Mary, and Mary got pissed on it. But I'm thinking now, I'm like, Mary, you can't get pissed at it because you didn't even bring this to the table. The only thing Mary brought to the table was her blonde wig, and keep it real, because I'm a Mary fan. That's all Mary brought to was her blonde wig, and that's it. It wasn't, she didn't think of singing on no hip-hop beats. That did not come from Mary at all, because that's another reason why What's the 411 is not in my top 5 Mary albums. It's not. I love Mary to death. I know it was our intro to her, but it's not in my top 5. And being a Mary fan, a lot of people can understand that. It's not in my top 5 at all, because Mary had nothing to do with it. She just got the song and she sung it. And what's also so shady of Puff and, hey, Andre Harrell, you got to call a spade a spade. These dudes was in the studio telling Mary how to sing it, and did they get any vocal production on it? Absolutely not. If you look on there, you don't see no Jeff, no Buddy. You just see that Kenny Greene wrote it, and that was it. Because now, when I listen to the intro album now, it's like, yo, you can tell those runs that she did on these songs were totally Kenny and Intro. That's the vibe that they have. But anyway, y'all see, I had to go in for a little bit, because they really, really upset me, y'all. Like, it really, really did. But, so, once they got that popping off, and once, you know, the album What's the 411 did so great, and it did good, and everybody was kind of in love with it, and Mary was creating this new sound, and when they found out who the writers was, that helped Intro get a deal. It did. It helped them get a deal. So, when they brought out their first single, which was this, no doubt about it, we got a good thing going on. So, when they brought that out, I know for me, as a little kid back then, and I know older people, you know, older than me, and teenagers and adults, everybody is looking at them like they just a fake Jodeci. Like, that's all that is. To me, I know when I saw them, as you know, when I saw them, I think live, I think it was on Soul Train, and I saw them, they reminded me of SWV, because it was just like Kenny was the front man, and then the two background singers. That was kind of like the vibe that SWV, for me seeing. It was just like, oh, he's the lead singer, and you got the two background singers, and it was like they were the male SWV to me. But then, it was like, you know, everybody was looking at them like, oh, these copycatters, they are following just like I did. It was just like, oh, they following Jodeci, they following, you know, it's not original. Mind you, they were the originators, but we didn't know that then. So then it was like, then after that comes out, then they come out with this as the next single. let me be, let me be. So I remember that song, and I used to rock to it. Now, y'all know, if y'all know if that from being a sample, that's definitely from Ed O.G. That's their song, that beat that they're on. So, you know what's so ironic, and we're talking about Mary and Puff, when they got back together in 2003 and created the Love and Life album, y'all remember that Mary used this same beat. How ironic. How ironic. How ironic. But, so, by the time they were releasing these songs, and I'm talking about, you know, Love Thing and Let Me Be the One, it's like, everybody is like, okay, who is these guys? It's like nothing. Like, we can care less about them, to be honest with you. And Mary, then, what the label does, then, they come out with, what's the 411 remix album? While Intro comes out with their album in, I think it was April or May, and they starting to kind of get this buzz running, and they kind of on this hip-hop soul tip too. You know what Puff decides to do? Make a What's the 411 remix album. And these are the songs that's on there. Now, y'all, now come on. You know that you remind me of a love that I want to. Like, they come out with that, and then they use his song, Reminisce, and they have a remix of this. So I think they wanted to show, they wanted to keep, because What's the 411 had such an impact, they wanted to keep us that Mary can get on these, you know, songs and turn them into hip-hop. And Puff was the executive of this album, once again, and it kind of like swept the, you know, the feet, you know, swept under these guys, Intro, and they never get the respect. The only song that we really know from these guys, and it's so sad that they brought something, but this is the song that we kind of know from them, and it's so sad. Like, it's ridiculously sad. I'm like, this is so unfair. Like, that's not right in my opinion. And it goes like this. Give me a second, y'all. Like, y'all know that we all over the place, but y'all know how we do in these videos. Y'all know how we do. It's so sad that this group is only kind of really known for this song, and it's like, really? Y'all hear it. So when we think about Intro, we think about Come Inside. And these were the guys that really, really brought hip-hop and soul and together, but just because they didn't have a deal and they got it stolen from them, we will never really know about Intro. And it's so sad because, you know, everything that's happened with this group and the stuff that they have gone through and all this, they are really the unsung heroes. They are unsung heroes. Like, their first album is amazing. But, of course, it wasn't going to get the love because everybody thought they were following. They weren't getting the love that Jodeci and Mary and even Boys the Men or even SWV and a lot of these groups that was getting, like, #1 songs and getting #1 albums. And, you know, they were running kind of like the 90s, and, you know, from like 92 to 94, it was like these groups was running it, and Intro really kind of got pushed to the side, and this is the only song, Come Inside, is the only thing we know. And these guys really are the unsung heroes. If it wasn't for them getting with Eddie F, and think that putting hip-hop and singing on these hardcore beats, we wouldn't have hip-hop soul. But they got it robbed from them and stolen from them that people don't even know they were the ones that created it. It's so sad. But I want y'all to really go back and listen to Intro's first album. It is completely dope. Like, their version of Rhythm in the Sky is actually one of my favorite covers of all time. It's After Troops, All I Do Is Think of You, and Escapes, Who Can I Run To. They're next with the Rhythm in the Sky because it's so dope. You knew it was dope because Stevie was up in the video. Like, if Stevie liked your version and he gonna be in your video, that's dope. And I'll give y'all a little sample of it. It goes like this. So yes, they had "Don't Leave Me," one of a kind love. I can't even say it. Why Don't You Love Me? Anything for You. Like, this album was great from beginning to end, but they never got the shine that they deserve. And they are really the unsung heroes of hip-hop soul. Like, they were the reasons. Intro is the reason that we have hip-hop soul. And y'all can, you know, I know when people watch this video, they're going to say, you don't know what you're talking about. It was Mary and Puff and blah, 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 and don't believe what you hear. The evidence is there. There's no reason why these dudes got to lie. Like, what the heck are they gaining from lying? Like, it's been too long. Like, there's no reason to lie about this. But they just got their stuff stolen from Puff. Because I'm not really going to blame Devontae, because Devontae is, I really consider him a musical genius. That boy can definitely produce and write good music. He did for Jodeci. Puff had nothing to do when it came to Jodeci's music. I'll let y'all know that now. Everybody think that Puff had something to do with Jodeci's music. No, Devontae and he had a crew that consisted of Timbaland, Missy, Tweet, Genuine, but Missy was more the writer and Timbaland was the producer. And he had his group, but he could also, you know, play music as well. Like, if you see a performance with Devontae, he's on, and it's him, Stevie, Mary, and they doing You Will Know. And he's playing the piano, and it's beautiful, like Devontae. But Devontae was not thinking about getting on no hip-hop joints and doing that. No, he was not. He was not thinking about that. I don't care what nobody said. Puff heard what was going on because everybody was in the studio together. So what you get from that is, look, don't trust everybody with your ideas. Keep your center closed, because you got a lot of people that will steal your ideas, and that's what happened to Intro. Intro are really the reasons for hip-hop soul, and I'm telling y'all, they are the big reason. And go back and do your research. It's there. And when I found this out Monday, I told y'all I was so hurt. Like, I really was hurt because it reached home for me. Because Mary, I'm a Mary stan, and I'm like, yo, no, Mary created this genre. No, this is what the mainstream does to us. They make us think something, and it's not true until we go back and do research. And, you know, before then, it was like, Force MDs, they actually was doing it first. Then after they did it, Michelle A did it, and then after that, it was just like, okay, Jodeci did a couple, maybe a remix here and there, and things like that. Because when you think of Guy and all of them, Teddy Riley had the New Jack Swing thing going, but nobody kind of did no hip-hop soul. And that's when kind of what took away New Jack Swing was hip-hop soul. That came into play. But everybody's saying that Mary and Puff created it, and they actually didn't. Intro was the reason why we have hip-hop soul. And these guys are so unsung, and I hope TV One actually does an unsung on these guys, because they deserve it. They really do. And when you do research and you find things out, it kind of stings, and it kind of brings you back to, you know, a little normalcy, because a lot of us fans can go nuts over our favorite artists, but when we do research, it's like, yeah, we gotta chill, because sometimes what we think isn't. And that's all this video is portraying. I want Intro to get the respect they deserve. Y'all, it's there. It's out there. It's really out there. So, like I said, I did this video because Kenny, Greene, and Intro don't get the respect they deserve, and I want them to. When y'all watch this video, I want y'all to be like, yo, you know what? He is absolutely right. Now, is it going to change anything? Absolutely not. But at least you know. When you know, you can't say, oh, no, that's not true, but you know. And the research out there. I'm going to put stuff in the more info box. You gotta watch it for yourself. It's there. And like I said, I'm still going to be a diehard Mary fan. I'm a diehard Mary fan, but as a music fan, now I can be like, wait a minute. Mary and Puff didn't create this. It was Intro that created this, and Eddie F. that created this lane, and the Untouchables. They wanted to do that. But these guys didn't really have a deal. So when you have somebody like Mary that had a deal with Uptown and they didn't know what to do with her, and they like, bing, wait a minute, we can put her on hip-hop beats, and she's hard and already rugged, give her Jodeci swag, like put her in combat boots and all that. And we have a gold mine here. And that's what happened. But, you know, it's not bashing, I'm not bashing Mary, I'm not bashing, you know, Devontae, but Puff robbed him. And he did, and he know he did. And he tried to, and he used that until his luck ran out, because it ran out after 1997. It ran out after he wanted to become an artist, but that's neither here nor there, because he ain't got nothing to do with soul. Negative. So, you know, like I said again, I want to give Intro his respect. R.I.P. to Kenny Greene. You know, he passed from AIDS, but definitely that dude is so underrated. He can sing, and you can just hear the emotion when he sings. He was just a dope singer. And hopefully TV One, you guys can do a Unsung on Intro, talk to his family. But at the end of the day, they're going to always eat. Well, Kenny family is going to eat because he wrote hits. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go out on a song off their album, and it's called Why Don't You Love Me? And I just love the beat. So it goes like this. Why don't you love me? Why don't you love me the way that you do? So now, I wanted to go out on that song. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so excited because y'all know I go out on a song. But I'm going to go out on this, and I'm going to let y'all hear it from Jeff himself say it. And I ain't going to need to say no more. Let me get to it. Give me a second.
I refuse to sing house music. I said, this is not what I want to do. I said, we need to do something that nobody's doing, and we need to sing on top of some hip-hop beats. Nobody did it. But somebody got a wind of what we were doing. I'm not going to say their name. A famous group as well. They came out a little bit before us, and they ended up hearing what we were doing. They started remixing a couple of the songs. You know. And I'm not going to sing the song either, because I don't want to do that, though. But everybody knew that we were the first one to sing on top of some raw hip-hop beats. Puff knew it. He was right there and saw when we did it. You know, Eddie F., he's the mastermind of that. You know, he came up with the idea, to be honest. Eddie F. threw the beats down, like, yo, this is what I want y'all to do. We thought it was a great idea. Nobody ever did it. You know, New Jack Swing beats with Teddy Riley was totally different from what we were doing. We was actually singing on stuff that the rappers did before we saw them.
On that note, peace out, y'all. Think about it.